What's up, with a guy named Ty reporting live from the MITM podcast. And today's another infinite banking day, baby. And we have a bit of a problem. So, run the intro.
Caught up in them bright lights, lost the shiny things that's golden. Everything ain't always what it seems, let it soak in. Chasing my dreams, coming apart at my seams. Best believe that the money is the motive.
All right. Welcome back to another episode of the MITM podcast. And today, we're talking about a bit of a problem that we have, guys. But before that, we have a little quote from Nelson. Well, I mean, it's not. Nelson quoted anyways, I'm just going to say it. So when Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, "Do you want to get well?" Now, several years ago, I did a good bit of studying on the spending habits of American families. Since that time, I've kept an eye on the figures and portions of income allocated to each category. This seems to be the current situation, which doesn't seem to change at all that much. I build scenarios around the all-American family because I don't want people to think you have to be rich to create a banking system that can handle all of your needs for finance. Now, this young man in this graph is 29 years old and makes $28,500 per year after taxes. Now, what does he do with the after-tax income? 20% is spent on transportation, 30% is spent on housing, 45% is spent on living, clothes, groceries, contributions to religion, charitable causes, boat payments, casualty insurance, blah, 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 blah. Okay? Many of these items are financed by charge cards or banknotes. Okay? The balance is financed by paying cash for them and thus giving up the interest that he could have earned otherwise. He's saving less than 5% of disposable income, but to be as generous as possible, let's assume that he's saving 10% and spending only 40% on living expenses. This gives him every benefit of the doubt on the matter of savings. Just remember the real situation is at least twice as bad, which is so crazy. Even dealing with people and helping them with their finances over the last 2 going on 3 years. I see this, and it's ridiculous. So the problem is that all these items are financed by other banking organizations. An automobile financing package for this hypothetical person is $10,550 for 48 months with an interest rate of 8.5%. Now the payments are going to be $260 per month. But if you check with the sales managers of an automobile agency, you'll find that 95% of the cars that are traded are not paid for. This means at the end of 30 months, if the car is traded, 21% of every payment dollar is interest. Even if he goes the full 4 years, the portion of every payment made is still 20%. It's ridiculous. Okay, this means that the interest portion of every dollar spent is perpetual. It never seems to dawn that the volume of interest is the real issue, not the annual percentage rate. For a real thrill, go see the sales manager of high-priced cars and ask him what percentage of the cars that leave their lot are leased. The answer is probably about 75% or more. This is worse than financing a car purchase. Okay, when you go to the doctor's office to get a shot of some kind, the criteria is not the rate at which the medicine is injected in you. It's the volume. Too little and it won't do any good. Too much and it can kill you. Now let's move to housing. Okay, this young man can qualify for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage at the amount of $93,000 at a fixed interest rate of 7% APR with payments of $618 and a closing cost of $2,500. Okay, and I know these numbers are old, guys. This book is old. Okay, who's paying $600 a month? Heck, if you want to rent somewhere, you're spending $3,000 now. The problem is that within 5 years, he'll move to another city or across town or refinance the mortgage. Okay, something happens to a mortgage within 5 years, including the closing cost and the interest paid out during these 60 months. He paid $39,000 and change, but only $5,000 has gone to reduce the loan. This means that $34,000 has gone into interest and closing costs. Now, When you divide the amount paid out into the interest and the closing cost, you'll find that 86% of every dollar paid out goes to the cost of financing. Okay, if he sells the house in less than 5 years, it's even worse. This proportion never gets any better because he takes on a new mortgage and starts out all over again. He thinks that he's buying a house, but all he's really doing is making the wheels of the banking business and real estate business very, very rich. Okay. In the next segment of his spending pattern, the living expenses, you'll find that the interest on his boat payment, credit card interest, plus the cost of casualty insurance on the automobiles, etc., will rival in volume the interest he's paying on the 2 automobiles. Later on in this book, you learn how to self-insure for comprehensive and collision insurance on automobiles. Now, add up all the interest he's paying, and you find that 34.5 cents of every disposable dollar paid out is interest. For the average all-American male, this proportion never changes. Let's assume that he's trying to save 10% of his disposable income, which is twice the average savings rate in America. That means that we have 3.45 to 1 ratio of interest paid out. That's so ridiculous. If you will get this young man together with his peers at a coffee break or some such gathering and have one of them suggest that they discuss financial matters, I can predict that they'll talk about getting a high rate of return on the portions they're saving. Meanwhile, they want to talk about getting a high rate of return on what they're saving, but everyone in that conversation is doing all the same things. Okay, they're losing 3.45%, or it's a 3 to 1 ratio of money that they're spending and that's going out compared to what they're keeping and making work for them. Okay. All of this reminds me of a phenomenon of the airplane world, okay? I've been flying as a pilot since 1947, and I learned early on that you could not fly an airplane through a vacuum. It must go through an environment, okay? We've all seen the weather maps with highs and the lows, and in the northern hemisphere, the highs turn clockwise, okay? A large one can cover 75% or more of the U.S. So picture this situation. You're in Birmingham, Alabama. I think AL means Alabama. No, I'm not American. You're there with an airplane that can fly 100 miles per hour, and your destination is Chicago. The only problem is that you have a headwind of 345 miles per hour. Regardless of what your airspeed indicator says, your plane is moving forward towards Miami at 245 miles per hour. If you want to go to Chicago, that's a very good time to get your airplane on the ground and do that quickly. Okay? If you have some patience with the air mass, the air mass will move. They always do. When the high gets directly over top of you, there's no headwind. Okay? You're now covering the ground at 100 miles per hour. And now the arrival syndrome comes into play. You conclude that you just can't do any better than this. This is the ultimate situation, and that is nonsense. If you have more patience and the air mass will continue to move on, now you have a tailwind of 345 miles per hour. Plus, your airplane is moving at a speed of 100 miles per hour, so your ground speed is 445 miles per hour. You see, it's much more impressive than most people even understand, okay? Way more impressive than what most people can think. All right, it's crazy. Most people, 95% of folks, are flying with a headwind. Okay, that means that they're flying off course. But we're gonna change things so that we can fly with a tailwind, and the difference between you and them will be twice the wind. In this scenario with the 345 wind, we're looking at a 690 mile per hour difference. Okay, that is cruising, baby. Now, most people in this situation concentrate all their attention on trying to make the airplane go 105 miles per hour. They're trying to make the airplane go faster than it can, trying to redline the airplane when that's not the point. That's not necessary. Okay? What we can do is control the banking equation. All right. We can shift the environment that we work in. All right. Now, this book is about creating a perpetual tailwind to everything you do in the financial world. Okay. This is the unique message from this book. Somehow or another, it never dawns on most folks that you can control the environment that you operate in. But maybe it's just because of the lack of imagination that they have. Now, I know for myself, when I found this book, one of the things that I thought about immediately was, whoa, you're telling me that I can invest in 2 places at once? I can protect myself on the downside by getting, my 5, 6 to 7%, but also take out a loan against it to then say, hey, I'm going to invest this in a higher risk space. I'm going to go and look for the 20%, the 30% in other places. Hey man, everyone that wants to invest in crypto and you lost all your crypto money, maybe if you had invested in this first, your money would still be gaining a nice 5-6%. And when crypto decides to do its boom, go up, down, left, right, whatever, you still have funds somewhere to be able to tap back into, get back on that crypto wave if it makes sense for you. But that's pretty much it for today's episode of the MITM podcast, where we were talking about the problem. Now, do you want to fly in a headwind, a tailwind, and what would you do if you found yourself in a headwind? Anyways, that's it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I'll talk to you later. Peace.
Give them that creme de la creme whenever I spit that hot shit. Ain't no lose or draw when it's the only option. Till I'm balling like Stockton, I'm locked in. Researching the best stock tips, fuck gossip unless it makes a profit.